Okay, in this next video what I'm going to show you guys is how to do these bent pieces and leave them kind of permanently bent. Although you don't actually have to leave them permanently bent. This is where with foam board you can create things in model RC aircraft, for instance, like hinges and what have you, and it's pretty basic. So I've already started a piece here. What I did was I took a regular chunk, I did a vertical slit and then an angled cut, and in this instance it only allows it to bend basically in the one direction. If you wanted to, obviously you could make slits on either side and it bends further. But what I've shown here is I start usually, this is a less is more kind of scenario. So you do a vertical cut, and then you do a slight slit, and then you get a bit of a bend. But if you want to bend it more, you can always remove more material and get a steeper bend, as you can see, from one side to the next. And this is a good way that you can actually match angles. So like on the armor there, you want all of them to align. You can actually adjust that. But there's a little bit more to it. Obviously we want this to remain in this shape, or if, say, I was making an RC aircraft, I would want this to be a living hinge where it could move for controlling the flaps on an aircraft. But what will happen over time if you were moving this, this backside is just paper, so it would wear out because of fatigue. So the best material I've found actually for working on this, either as a hinge material or to hold this in place, is this good old-fashioned tuck tape, the type of stuff that you're actually supposed to use on the vapor barrier of your house. It doesn't really matter the color. I had some blue stuff lying around. The red stuff works just as well. And the main reason it works well is because the glue on it is so tenacious. It's very, very, very sticky. And in some cases, if this is on a steep angle, you really want it to hold properly. So what I'm going to do is, with this example piece, is I'm going to show how you would reinforce if you wanted it to be a permanent bend versus if you wanted it to be a hinge. So I'm going to hand the camera over to my cameraman here, Noah. Okay. So I don't like that this one doesn't bend far enough. So first off, I'm going to show how I take off extra material. So I just align my ruler with that back sloped side, and I start off by doing a vertical scribe along the edge. And then, when I remove the ruler, I put the X-Acto knife on an angle, and with kind of a sawing motion, I just follow along in a bit of a chamfer, and the piece should just kind of pop right out. So now it's got a nice kind of angled cut, and this one can also bend on an angle. Because it's hard to tear off, I've pre-cut a piece of the tucked tape. But what I usually will do is I will bend this side down on the edge of a table or something, and I'll align the tape, and then I'll pull it back, making sure that it touches all the way to the edge here. And this is important because you want it kind of sitting at the root of your bend. Now when I fold this up, I roll it forward, and I make sure I crease it right down in the middle of that bend so it's as tight as possible, and it'll hold that max angle. Now if I wanted this as a hingey piece, oh, and here's the problem, I didn't pre-cut, so this stuff is hard to get off the roll. I'm going to pre-cut two pieces because we want to, I'm using the X-Acto knife, the uglier looking heavy duty knife for this purpose, because this is what it's good for. So similar concept, I'm going to bend it down, but this time I'm going to actually lay it down into the profile of where I've cut the piece. So it's covering everything. And now on the opposite side, I'm going to put a matching piece of tape across here. Now if you do this, it's reinforced both sides of the paper, and it's now this plasticky tape, which is a heck of a lot tougher, and you can actually flex this joint hundreds of times and it won't actually break. So if you are building an RC aircraft and you need something that's steerable, so if you attached a servo to this, you now have a very long-lasting, reliable joint.